Hi, thanks for joining us for another video blog. Look, in all of our experience with companies that are looking to build their cultures or change their cultures, one of the things that gets in the way above all else is this thing called cooperation. Because cooperation is that thing where you've got everybody in a team or an organisation who are all heading in the same direction, passionate, committed and aligned to one end game, or what we call one vision. It's almost the thing that we probably focus on more than anything else when we're working with companies on their culture is how do we get cooperation right? And that's because we kind of know how it feels. We've all been there and worked in organisations when we don't have cooperation. It's where all the frustration can creep in, all of the negativity. So we start to see internal competition, we start to see silos form, and also what we see is a lot of ineffective collaboration. And that's because collaborations are where you've got sort of two people or two or more people working to build something. Whereas we can't have collaboration unless we've first got cooperation. So that's what this is about today. It's just how you as a leader can start to think about ways to build cooperation in your culture. So one of the ways I want you to think about it is almost the 4 elements to help build a cooperative culture, particularly starting with you as a leader. The very first thing that we need is we've got to have leaders who are thinking about the way they are contributing. And this is thinking about your core role, your day-to-day role. How am I making a unique contribution to the success in achieving this overarching vision? And this is about really challenging yourself and also helping others to challenge themselves to be thinking about what that over and above thing is, that stretch objective that I've set for myself to really align to what the strategy or vision is for the organisation. That's where I'm thinking I'm really pushing myself to make a great contribution. The next element to cooperation though is the way you and leaders are enabling. This is around enabling others to support you in your role, which is actually enabling them to make a great contribution. So this is around thinking whether you've given your team the time, the support, the tools that they need, the clarity they need to be able to contribute in the way that they want. Another good example is if you're a salesperson working with finance and you've got a finance team that are there who are ready to give you the insights, the analysis and the reports you need, but you haven't given them your forecasts. So by not giving them your forecasts, you haven't actually enabled the finance team to contribute to you and the business with what they need. The next part of cooperation is we need to be thinking about the way we're supporting others in the business. So with this, it's sort of getting outside of your normal role and thinking, how am I cooperating with others to help them be successful? This would be going to peers in other departments and maybe offering time to sit on a particular project for them, giving up your own resources and your own budget, perhaps even sacrificing some of your own priorities in order to help them with their priorities, because you've made a decision collectively that that's probably the right thing for the overall vision. It's also about going to your boss and other senior leaders and taking things off their plate, which might mean in the short term, that's actually going to mean a lot more work for you, but you know it's supporting them in their role and that's actually going to be helping with cooperation overall. And the final piece is just thinking about the way you and leaders are facilitating. And it's facilitating others to support each other, the way you're facilitating cooperation. And this doesn't need to be a big thing, but it's just being mindful of conversations that are going on around the business, just thinking about things that are going on and whether there's ways you can connect people together to help work on particular priorities, or maybe connecting people with the right tools or resources is going to help them cooperate with each other. When we have all of these things in place, the whole culture goes to another level. If we get everybody in the business, but particularly the leaders focusing on all 4 elements, what you see is just the energy of the whole environment goes to another level. The trust goes to another level. The speed at which we get things done just accelerates. Innovation and agility starts to come into the business, and no one's frustrated because we're underachieving. But we need to be doing all of these things. So I guess in terms of what it means for you, here's a challenge, because if you're sitting there thinking, you know what, you're right, John, we definitely got to get cooperation happening more in the culture. That's one of the things that we've got to start to fix. Well, let's actually just start with you for a minute. Because when it comes to leaders, there's 3 things that leaders need to do. They've got to communicate the expectation, they've got to hold others accountable for the expectation, but in the middle they've got to role model the expectation. So here's a little challenge for you. Just think to yourself, in terms of my contribution to the business, have I really challenged myself in focusing on the right things? Have I aligned my over and above effort with the strategy of where the business is going? Then just sit there and say, the team around me, the team that report to me or other people that support me, if I went to them and said, have I given you absolutely everything that you feel you need so that you're equipped to support me in your role and make a contribution, what would they say? When was the last time you went to your boss and said, what's keeping you up at night? What are some things you've got on your plate, and are there things that I can take off your plate to support you better? When was the last time you went to one of your peers in another department and said, what are the difficulties you're facing right now? Is there anything more that I can do to support you? And made sacrifices and compromises accordingly. And when was the last time you sort of thought, outside of the scope of your normal role, what are some things I can do differently to facilitate other people to cooperate in their roles? It's almost a challenge for you right now is to just think to yourself, what am I going to do today that's going to make an over and above contribution? What's one thing I can do differently today to help enable others to support me? What's one thing I'm going to do differently for my boss or a peer to help support them in their role? And what is one thing I'm going to do differently to help facilitate others to support each other? Keys to cooperation. Wish you every success.